The weight of secrets. The Hamilton Saga. In the picturesque city of Oak Creek, California, the Hamilton family was synonymous with success and elegance. Richard and Eleanor Hamilton, along with their children, Emily and Mateo, personified. However, behind the facade of perfection, a complex web of secrets and lies was woven that threatened to crumble their world. Eleanor, with her aristocratic bearing and enigmatic smile, she was the jewel of Oak Creek. Everyone admired her dedication to philanthropy and her impeccable role as mother and wife. But few suspected a murky past. She pursued him, a ghost threatening to reveal a truth he had buried deep. Richard, a real estate magnate, was the epitome of a self-made man. His charisma and cunning, they had catapulted him to the top, but his excessive ambition had led him to take dark shortcuts, compromising his integrity and the safety of his family. Emily, the eldest daughter, was a young prodigio, an exemplary student and a virtuoso pianist. However, the pressure to maintain the perfect image had turned her into a prisoner of expectations, hiding her true desires. My feelings. Mateo, the youngest son, was a free spirit, a budding artist who felt alienated in his own family. His rebellious spirit clashed with the conservative norms of the Hamiltons, and his search for identity would lead him to discover secrets that would change his life forever. The Hamiltons' bubble of perfection began to burst with the arrival of an old acquaintance of Eleanor, a man whose past was intertwined with hers. His presence stirred old wounds and long-buried secrets, threatening to reveal the truth about Eleanor's past. Richard, feeling the threat, became increasingly paranoid and controlling. His impulsive decisions and his need to maintain control affected the whole family, creating an atmosphere of tension and distrust. Emily, feeling the pressure from her parents, isolated herself more and more, taking refuge in her music and neglecting her personal relationships. Her perfectionism became an obsession, and fear of failure paralyzed her. Mateo, feeling increasingly alone and confused, began to investigate his family's past, seeking answers to his own questions. His discoveries filled him. He went to dark places, revealing secrets that left him astonished and made him question everything he thought he knew about his family. One night, during a family dinner, the tension reached its peak, the maximum. Mateo, driven by anger and frustration, confronted his parents, demanding the truth. Eleanor, feeling cornered, confessed her secret. She had had a child before marrying Richard, a son he had given up for adoption and whom he had never forgotten. Richard, for his part, revealed that his business success had been built on a foundation of fraud and corruption, compromising su integridad and endangering the future of his family. The revelation of these secrets shook the foundations of the Hamilton family. Emily felt betrayed by the lack of honesty of his parents, while Mateo felt relieved to finally understand the origin of his feeling of rootlessness. The family fell into a deep silence, a silence laden with pain and repentance. Feeling, Eleanor and Richard looked into each other's eyes, aware of the harm they had caused each other and their children. From that moment on, the Hamilton family had to face the consequences of their actions. Eleanor searched for her lost son, Richard tried to amend his mistakes, and Emily and Mateo struggled to find their own path, free from their parents' expectations. The walk, owed towards the reconstruction of the Hamilton family, was long and painful. They had to learn to communicate honestly, to forgive each other, and to accept their own imperfections. Eleanor, against, they hired a private detective to find their son. The search was arduous, but finally, after months of investigation, they managed to locate him. His name was David, a young architect who lived in New York. The meeting was emotional and full of tears. Eleanor and David began to build a relationship, healing the wounds of the past. Richard, for his part, faced the consequences of his acts. He was investigated by the authorities and had to pay a $1 million fine. Despite the shame and public scorn, Richard committed to rebuilding his life, this time with honesty and transparency. Emily, freed from the weight of perfection, allowed herself to explore her true passion, music. She left university and moved to New York, where she began to play in small clubs jazz. Her talent and passion led her to meet other musicians, and together they formed a band that soon gained recognition in the underground music scene. Mateo, inspired by the courage of his mother and his father's redemption, decided to follow his dream of becoming an artist. He moved to Los Angeles, where he began to study painting and sculpture. His unique style and innovative vision, they led to exhibiting their works in art galleries, gaining recognition and admiration. Years later, the Hamilton family gathered at Eleanor and Richard's house. Emily and Mateo had formed their Pias families and had found happiness in their own lives. Eleanor had found her lost son, and Richard had managed to redeem himself, becoming an honest and generous man. As they watched their grandchildren play in the garden, Eleanor and Richard held hands, feeling a deep gratitude for the opportunity to have rebuilt their family. They knew that their story end the era was perfect, but they had learned from their mistakes and had found the strength to move forward. The Hamilton family had learned that secrets and lies always come to light, and that the truth, although painful, is always the path to redemption and happiness.